Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Joan here, and today's video is going to be another story time where I share with you experiences and life pretty much. So today's topic is going to be when you lose hope, or when I lose hope, and what do I do, and things I've gone through. So the reason why I'm talking about this, because many times you just think to yourself, there's something that I want to do and it seems impossible. And especially when you find other people who show that it's possible or capable of doing, you ask yourself, how come they can do it but not me, or not yet at least? And why does it seem so far away? Why does it seem that, as much as I think about it, why does it seem as if I can't do it? I have those thoughts too, many times. And to the point where I end up not being able to sleep, to the point that I ask many people in my life their thoughts about whatever it is that's on my mind. And how do I overcome that? So when I was younger, I feel that my confidence wasn't as high as it is now, which is normal. When you're younger, you feel you're incapable of doing the most because you're not old enough. You think that other people who are of age are more superior, or that they have the right to do it, but for some reason, because you're younger, you can't. Things like that. So I would think about those things, and that would give me fear, and that would make me think I can't do it. So when that occurs, I pretty much try to find inspiration, whether that's people who have done the things that I want to do, or I have that support where people push me and tell me, hey, you can do whatever it is that you set your mind to. And if you don't have that support, which also happens to me, sometimes I have these ideas and people don't believe in it at all. And I have to motivate myself. It's literally a mental game, just to have self-discipline and really tell myself that, hey, you can do this. Whatever it is, you can do it. You just gotta believe. And you have to just keep replaying that over and over in your mind until it finally happens. And the one thing that turns off a lot of people, and that's why it leads to them losing hope, is because they try one time and then that's it, they give up. And then they just assume that it wasn't meant to be, that they didn't deserve it, and all these things, and then they just move on, or they just sulk, they just feel down and in disappointment. And you just have to continue believing that you can, and just because you fail once, twice, many times, that you can still achieve whatever it is that you set your mind to, despite failing at first. And so many times also, the things that I thought I wanted to do and I end up not achieving actually still led me to other parts of my life that I really appreciate. And an example is like when I was younger, there were schools that I really wanted to get into and I didn't get accepted at all. And I thought I was not good enough. I questioned my identity. I questioned my intelligence, and I cried. It's okay to cry because you're hurt and sad and upset because you felt deserving of the opportunity and then you didn't get it. So that didn't stop me from becoming who I am now today. Just because I didn't go to whatever school I was hoping to get into, it led me to another path, which ended up me anyways dropping out and not going to school for many years, and then just learning that I got more experience when I wasn't in school, when I was assisting and learning from other people who became my mentors. And so that just showed me and proved to me that there's other ways to learn whatever it is that you want to know about. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in school. And I'm not downing education, because I graduated, got my fucking bachelor's years later. But it just shows you that it's not the end of the world if you don't get into the school you want to get into. And another example is, for example, if you have a crush on somebody, which is facts, and you end up not being with that person, or even if it wasn't a crush, it was someone you actually dated and you end up not being with them. Many times I thought it was the end of the world, where I thought I would never meet someone else. And when I look at my track record of who I've been with, I realize the time of me being single is not as long as I thought in my mind. I actually end up with someone the following year or something like that. It's not as big of a gap. And at the time, I would think when the breakup was happening, there was no one new that would ever come along. But in the end, I find out that there are other people out there, but you just don't know who it is, when you'll meet them, where, all that stuff. And you shouldn't have to stress about stuff like that, because it just always feels better, in my opinion, when it comes naturally. When you don't look for it, when it just happens, when you least expect it. As much as that sounds so cliche, it is so true. And another example where I thought I lost hope is like when I schedule and plan things, because I'm very organized. I like to be prepared mentally, emotionally, everything, just because I never want to set myself up for failure, even though failure and making mistakes is a big lesson in life. That's how you grow as a person. And so when I travel and go to countries where I don't speak the language at all, I start doubting myself and asking myself, like, why do I even want to do this? Which is, I know I want to, because I want to see other places that I've never been to before. And then I'm like, should that stop me just because there's a language barrier between me and whoever is there that does not speak English and things like that, or most of the population doesn't speak English, let's say, even though you think everyone knows English. So I just remind myself that once you try once, literally, it makes it less harder to have that fear. And if that doesn't make sense, what I mean is, when you first try, and even if you fail, it's not as scary as the first time. So when I first went to Iceland, when I first went to South Korea, when I went to Europe for the first time, even if I was with people that I knew, I still had this fear that something may go wrong, that it's like incapable, like I have no control, like what am I gonna do? This is not America anymore, type of thing. And then after I overcome that, after I actually achieve going through with the trip and doing everything, doing the most, looking back at all the videos and photos that I've taken, all the experiences that I've created, I tell myself, like, wow, before I went here, I thought I couldn't do it. And then now I proved to myself that I could, and now I could go back without feeling bad. And then, so that gives me hope. Gives me hope that I have more possibilities and options to go to other places, meet new people, that I'm not stuck. A lot of people feel stuck, that they can't move on or surpass from the place that they're in, that that is the only life that you have, is whatever it is in front of you present day. And especially with technology nowadays and how modern the world is, there is so many options. Like, you don't have to stay wherever you are. If you want to go somewhere that you've never been to before, if you want to talk to someone new, if you want to find a new hobby or a new lifestyle, if you want to learn something that you've never learned before, you can honestly just do it right then and there. And I know that sounds so easy to say, but it's true. You yourself are holding yourself back for why your life is still in the same situation. And I literally had this conversation with someone in my life, and they were asking me for advice. They were asking me, like, why is this person in my life the same? They never change. I always keep hoping that they'll be different, but still, they always keep doing the same thing, but in a different way. So how can I change this situation? Like, how can I make this other person be different? And one thing first is, you can't change people. As much as we'd love to, we can't. And that's something we have to accept, unfortunately. And two, I told them as advice is that if you want something to change, you have to change, not the person. You have to change. Because if the same routine is happening over and over again, and you're not changing in the situation, and you're just expecting the other person to change, that is not gonna work. And if that person just doesn't change at all, no matter what you do to yourself, and you shouldn't have to change for another person, that too. It's just that you just have to accept that it is what it is. This is how they are. And when I say you need to change in the situation, I mean, maybe you have to leave the situation, because if it just keeps being a repetitive thing where they just keep doing the same thing and you're just like not happy anymore, then why are you staying in a situation where you just don't want to be there anymore? Like, does that make sense? Like, why put yourself in that suffering? And many people settle. That is something that always mind boggles, like bothers me, because I've always spoke up, and that might be a gift, but anyone who knows me, I always speak up about how I feel. I have a way of expressing my feelings, my thoughts. I don't hold back. And many people have that fear. They have that fear of expressing how they feel. So then they end up just being quiet. They suppress how they feel, and they just go on with their day, because they're just like, hey, like, it's better than nothing. So I'll just accept whatever it is, how life is right now, right? And maybe, hopefully, one day something will happen. Maybe I'll win the lottery. Maybe some miracle will happen. And it's like, things can happen like that, maybe in movies, but things don't change unless you do something about it, right? So that is something that I had to learn the hard way. I used to hope that things would change in the situations that I wish would go in my favor. Like, I was like, oh, I wish this would happen, this and that. But you can only do so much wishing. Like, you have to take action. You can't just keep wishing and praying and hoping for something to happen when you're not doing anything to make this, whatever it is you want to happen, right? So many people just settle. They just accept things, and they just hope and pray for whatever it is. And to each their own. But for me, I've just always happened to be the type of person who just says, this is how I am, this is how I feel. And if you're not okay with it, that's fine. But I just have to be honest and true to who I am, because I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not just for this to work. And there is something that's called adjusting. Like when you really care for someone, you adjust because you want things to work. But there's another thing when you're just adjusting because you think you can have it your way, when that's just not how you should think. You should adjust because you honestly want to change, not because you want to change for the other person. Like I said, people should change on their own, not because of whatever it is that you do. So things like that. Or in that conversation that I had, they mentioned, oh, maybe if I showed that I was a good role model, maybe they'll get inspired to do the same. And yeah, that is a nice thought. You know, as like a teacher, you being a good role model, a good example, you would hope that the students would learn from you so they would do the same, right? But then as you grow older, you wonder, like, why did some of the students become bad? Why did some of them get pregnant early? Why did they end up going to jail? Things like that. Not trying to be so cynical and negative, but it's just honest truth. But I was a good example, right? So it's like, why did they end up like that? And so that goes back to what I'm saying, that you can't control people. And so no matter how nice of a person you are, no matter how good of an example you are, it's like you can hope for the best, right? That they will not turn out into a bad person, but you don't have any control over that. In the end, they will decide on their own whether or not they want to be a good person or not, right? Does that make sense? So that's my whole point, is that we have all this hope and we think that what we do can change, and it can, but it's not 100% guaranteed that it will. So those are things that I think about, you know, when I think that I can't do something, I just keep trying. I keep trying until I really tell myself, like, this isn't going to work out anymore. Like, this is just pointless. And how do I know that it's pointless and that there's just no more point, there's no more reason to keep trying, is when I feel like I hit a wall. Like, I feel like nothing is just working anymore. And the best thing that I just tell myself is, at least I tried. At least I tried to make an effort to make a difference in whatever is the situation. But if, let's say, the person, the situation, nothing changes, just me getting frustrated, just getting upset and angry and frustrated, then that's the time when I have to tell myself, that's it. I need to stop and move on. It's not giving up. People think it's giving up, but it's not giving up. I kept trying and trying and trying, but the results just always stayed the same. It's not like I'm even making progress. It's literally just stagnant. It just stays the same. So there's a time when you have to just accept when things are just not happening like anymore. And you just have to either rely on time, because it could be the wrong time and it's just not meant to be at all. But I think people have a hard time accepting when things aren't working anymore and it's not worth it, and they have to accept defeat. Many people also have a hard time accepting when it's just not meant for them. And that's okay. Like I said, if it doesn't happen for you, I'm not saying like it can't happen another time, but maybe something else out there is meant for you that's even better. And most of the time when I look back on my life now, I realize everything that's happened to me. Yeah, like I know some people don't have regrets. I have regrets. I'm being honest. But I've accepted and told myself that I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I didn't go through the experiences that I did, whether they suck and they're shitty. And I wish, when I think about it, they never happened. But the fact that they did happen it made me a stronger person. It helped me mold my personality, my identity. And so that's just it. You just gotta focus on yourself because you can't control other people. And you can have hope, but maybe you're just setting yourself up for more disappointment by having hope. So it's just better to work hard and just do the work instead of hoping for something to happen that might never happen. So I'm gonna end it there. Thank you again for watching. If you have any thoughts, comments, feedback, you could leave it down in the comment section below. And that's pretty much it. Sayonara. It's the end of the video, so don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, it will help me in the long run. Okay, bye.